The boardroom was silent except for the soft hum of the projector, casting a harsh red glare on the giant screen that read $200,000,000. Michael Chen, the CEO of a once booming San Francisco tech giant, sat at the head of the table, shoulders hunched. His eyes were fixed on those damning numbers. Beside him, the CFO swallowed hard and whispered, 200 million in losses. It wasn't just a number, it was hundreds of jobs, families, and dreams teetering on collapse. Michael rubbed his temples slowly, feeling the exhaustion in his bones. Weeks of frantic meetings and late-night calls had led nowhere. Their core algorithm, the very product that kept their biggest client on board, was broken. Engineers, analysts, and consultants had all failed to fix it. Time was running out. He glanced at his team, some looked away, ashamed, others, angry or terrified. He clenched his jaw. "If we can't fix this algorithm, we'll lose our biggest client," he said, voice hoarse with defeat. The words hung in the air like a death sentence. Silence spread, heavy and choking. No one had an answer. He slammed the meeting shut with a curt, "That's all. We're done here for now." As chairs scraped and people shuffled out, Michael stayed behind for a moment, letting the quiet swallow him. The weight of leadership felt like chains around his chest. He thought about the layoffs they'd already had. The single mothers, the new grads who'd moved across the country for these jobs. He felt personally responsible. When he finally stood, he stared once more at the bleeding red on the screen. This company was his life's work, and now it was slipping through his fingers. He promised himself he wouldn't let it fall apart without a fight, even if he had no idea what else to try. He turned off the lights and walked out alone, shoulders slumped, the door clicking shut behind him. In that moment, Michael Chen wasn't the high-powered CEO everyone feared. He was just a man trying to save what he loved, terrified that he was watching it all die, powerless to stop it. Michael's house was quiet, the kind of silence that felt oppressive instead of peaceful. The city lights of San Francisco glittered through the massive glass windows, but he barely noticed them. He sat at the huge dining table, which was buried under piles of papers, code printouts, and half-drunk coffee cups. His laptop cast a cold glow on his drawn face. He rubbed his eyes and tried reading the same line of code for the 10th time. Nothing made sense anymore. His brain felt like sludge. He let his head sink onto his arms, exhaustion overwhelming him. From the hallway, Rosa watched him. She'd worked for him for years, cleaning the marble floors and dusting the grand piano that hadn't been played in ages. She was a quiet woman in her 50s, moving silently through his home, invisible by design. But tonight she hesitated. She saw the frantic scribbles on his papers, the error messages on his screen. Her eyes flicked to a set of numbers that jumped out at her, wrong in a way she couldn't ignore. Rosa wiped her hands on her apron and took a cautious step forward. "Sir," she said, voice barely above a whisper. Michael didn't move. She tried again, a little louder. "Sir, your math seems wrong here." Michael jerked awake, startled. He blinked at her, disoriented. "What?" She winced at his sharp tone but didn't back away. With trembling fingers, she picked up a marker from the table. "Here. This formula, it's off. It should be factored like this." She reworked the line in seconds, the marker squeaking over the paper. Michael watched, mouth half open. When she finished, he snatched the sheet from her hands and scanned it. His eyes widened. It wasn't just correct. It was brilliant. He looked at her, truly seeing her for the first time. "How did you know that?" Rosa shifted uncomfortably, the marker still in her hand. She wouldn't meet his gaze. "I studied math back home before I had to leave everything. But there was no work. So I clean." Michael sat back hard in his chair. For a moment, he couldn't speak. All he could do was stare at the woman who had just solved in seconds what had stumped his entire team. Michael sat frozen, the paper in his hands trembling slightly. The code Rosa had corrected stared back at him, elegant and precise, exactly what they'd needed for weeks. He looked up at her, truly seeing her for the first time. She wasn't just the quiet woman who cleaned the baseboards and polished the kitchen. She was someone who understood things even his best engineers couldn't fix. He swallowed hard. How did you learn this?" he asked quietly, his voice softer than before. Rosa shifted her weight, looking down at her worn shoes. She took a deep breath, and when she spoke, her voice wavered. "My country fell apart. I lost my job, my husband. I had to leave everything. I was a teacher once, taught math at a university. But here? No one would hire me for that. I cleaned houses so my son could eat. But math was always mine." The room fell completely silent, the only sound the low hum of the fridge. Michael felt something twist painfully in his chest. He thought of the way he'd walked past her for years without so much as a thank you. How he'd never wondered who she really was. He felt the shame burn hot on his face. His eyes welled, but he blinked it away. He cleared his throat roughly, grabbing his phone. He scrolled to his CTO's number and hit the call button, putting it on speaker. The phone rang twice before a groggy voice answered. "Michael? It's late." Michael didn't wait. "Get the team ready. I don't care what time it is. I have the fix. Rosa has it." "Who?" "Rosa," Michael said, voice cracking with emotion. He looked at her, this woman who had saved them all. "Our maid. She just solved it." The CTO stammered on the other end. Michael didn't care. He held Rosa's gaze, voice steady now. "We're implementing your solution. Tonight." Rosa covered her mouth with her hand, eyes shining with disbelief and tears she couldn't hide. And in that moment, Michael knew nothing would ever be the same. The next morning, the company's headquarters buzzed with anxious chatter. Employees gathered in the main conference hall, eyes red from sleepless nights. Rumors had flown all night about an emergency meeting. The doors swung open, and Michael Chen strode in. But he wasn't alone. By his side was Rosa, dressed simply but neatly, her hands clasped tightly in front of her. She scanned the sea of expensive suits and blinking laptops, her heart racing. Michael stepped to the front, voice firm but warm. "Everyone, quiet down. I want you to meet the consultant who saved us." Murmurs rippled through the room. People squinted in confusion. Some actually laughed under their breath. Rosa felt the heat rise to her cheeks but lifted her chin anyway, refusing to shrink. Michael continued, unwavering. "Our $200 million problem? Rosa solved it last night. In minutes. She found what we missed for weeks." He turned to her, nodding in respect. Silence fell. Then someone whispered, "She's the maid, right?" Michael shot them a look that shut them up instantly. He faced the room again. "I don't care what her title was. She's the reason we still have a client. She's the reason you still have jobs." He turned to Rosa, voice gentler now. "Rosa, would you explain your fix?" Hands shaking, Rosa held the marker Michael offered her. She turned to the giant whiteboard and began writing. The math was clean, elegant, and precise. She spoke quietly but with authority. As she finished, the team watched, slack-jawed. There was no denying it. She had done it. Silence turned to stunned applause. Someone even whistled. Rosa lowered the marker, eyes wet. She'd never felt so seen, so respected. Then the head of R&D cleared his throat. "Michael, we'd be fools not to hire her. Rosa, would you consider joining our team? Paid Full-time. You'd be an asset. Rosa froze. Her lips trembled. Slowly, tears spilled down her cheeks. She covered her mouth, then nodded, unable to speak. Michael smiled and placed a steadying hand on her shoulder. For the first time in years, she felt like she belonged. Like the life she'd lost was finally returning in ways she'd never dared dream. Months later, the company's main auditorium gleamed with banners and soft lights for the annual award ceremony. Employees filled the seats, chatting excitedly. But today felt different. The atmosphere buzzed with anticipation, respect, even hope. At the front, Michael Chen adjusted the microphone and looked over the crowd, his face calm but proud. Behind him stood Rosa, no longer in her faded cleaning uniform but in a smart navy suit, her hair neatly pinned back. She held a small notecard in trembling hands but barely glanced at it. Michael's voice rang clear, but carried a warmth that quieted the room. Tonight isn't just about numbers or growth or profits. It's about the people who make it all possible. People like Rosa. He turned, meeting her eyes. She taught us that talent has no uniform, no accent, no borders. She reminded us to look beyond what we think we see. The audience sat in rapt silence, many blinking back tears. Rosa swallowed hard, stepping forward to the podium. She looked out over faces that once ignored her, dismissed her, and now watched her with respect. She smiled shakily, voice thick with emotion. I used to think my life was over when I lost everything. But you gave me a chance to be who I really am. Thank you. Her voice cracked, and she wiped her eyes. Applause erupted. Some stood. Rosa laughed through her tears, unable to hide the joy. As she stepped back, Michael leaned in and spoke just for her. Thank you for saving us. And reminding us what humanity looks like. She nodded, unable to answer, tears flowing freely. The ceremony closed on a high note, cameras flashing. Later, Rosa's son stood at her side, beaming, acceptance letter to college in hand. Michael shook his hand warmly, congratulating them both. Outside the auditorium, the company sign glowed in the evening light, a symbol of second chances. Employees left that night talking about what they'd learned, that brilliance can hide in the humblest places, and that seeing each other fully, truly, is what makes us human. And from that day forward, no one in that company forgot the lesson: kindness and talent can be found where you least expect them.